In 2024, when Donald Trump ran for re-election to the White House, one of the biggest issues with voters from coast to coast was the open border. Illegal immigrants were flowing into the United States every single month by the tens of thousands. Under the Biden administration, in May of 2024, Border Patrol released 62,000 illegal immigrants into the United States. Fast forward now, a year later, Donald Trump is back in the White House and things have changed. In May of 2025, Border Patrol released 0 people into the United States. So what changed? I sat down with United States Border Czar Tom Homan to find out. Thanks for doing this with us.
No problem.
You know, you just released some statistics, and in May of 2024, Border Patrol released roughly 62,000 illegals into the United States. May of 2025, you released 0. What are you doing different?
We end the catch and release. It's simple. We're not releasing people in the country. You come to the border, you're going to be immediately turned around or detained, but you're not going to be walking the streets.
In May of last year, there were 118,000 encounters. And this year, that was roughly 7,000 encounters. Why are people not even trying to enter the United States?
One of the big reasons because we had to catch and release. I mean, people, you know, on the Biden administration, they knew you come to the border, you're going to get released. You get flown to the city of your choice, the taxpayer dime. You get a free hotel room, 3 meals a day, get free medical care. And then we're work off in the States after 90, 120 days. We said, no, gravy train's over, we stopped it. Matter of fact, yesterday I posted, in a 24-hour period, Border Patrol arrested a total of 95 on the entire 2,000-mile southwest border. We've never seen that number in history of this nation, 95. And that's from a high of over 10,000 under Biden. 10,000 a day, 95.
I always look at the domino effect of anything government does. How does this impact like drugs coming over the border or human trafficking? What's the change there, and can you measure it?
Yeah, we're in the process of measuring now. We know that fentanyl seizures already cut more than half. So with less fentanyl coming across, because look, the cartels know Border Patrol's on the border 100%. They're vigilant. They're all on the line. Under President Biden, up to 70% of agents were pulled off the line to deal with the overcrowding, the humanitarian issue they're dealing with. So Border Patrol was wide swaths of no enforcement at all. They took advantage of it. Now they can't. Every Border Patrol agent's on the line doing the job.
There was an attempt last year in the U.S. Senate to pass a change to the law that would have allowed 5,000 golden tickets. Every single day, 5,000 illegals would have been allowed under that. And now, not only are you not having 5,000 a day, you had 0 in an entire month. So a year ago, was there an agenda? Why was that being pushed, or was it just incompetence?
It was incompetence. I mean, I appreciate Senator Langford. I like the man, but he's part of that bill, and I was honest with that bill's terrible. I would never support it. I mean, they had H.R. 2 before they had that bill, and Schumer wouldn't even put it on the floor for questions, debate, or vote or anything. H.R. 2 would have worked. Why H.R. 2 would have worked? Because most of it was Trump policies from Trump 45 that we proved work. So I said from day one, why would we negotiate against known success? H.R. 2 was built upon Trump's plans with Trump 45. Pass that if you want to secure the border. But again, Democrats never brought it up a hill. They came up with this other bill, was terrible, and I was against it from day one.
When we talk about Congress, what changes have they made to law as it relates to immigration? What changes have they made to law since January 20th of this year?
None.
But then what's the difference? Are you here? Maybe here's the better question.
A new president.
If all you're doing is enforcing the exact same law, what are the protesters protesting?
You know, I don't get it. Because I've said for 4 years under Biden, he could fix this. He kept saying he needed Congress to change. No, he just didn't enforce existing laws. The law on the books is one of the most meaningful statutes on the book says, if you come to the border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, not release them. If just follow that one statute, stop releasing them, and they'll stop coming because they know they don't qualify for asylum. It's asylum fraud. 9 out of 10 who claim asylum will end up with order removal. All they have to do is to simply enforce the law. But Joe Biden and the administration didn't want to do that.
In Los Angeles, we saw protests. We saw people burning cars. We saw people pushing police officers. We saw just breaking and entering and damaging and, hooligans. And President Trump sent in the National Guard. Since then, things have cooled considerably. In fact, Mayor Bass has gone ahead and cut the curfew. There is no curfew now. So did the National Guard work? Did that do its job?
Absolutely. It was a great call. I was there when this all started. I went over there to kick off an operation. And what started the whole protest and violence was they said, well, this is all they're doing operations. We were serving criminal search warrants on a business that was under criminal investigation for money laundering, tax evasion, customs fraud. There's a criminal investigation. But, right away, the left took the message and say this is ICE raid, we're out there violating civil rights, and there's no mention of a criminal investigation, but that's what started. And I was there the first 2 nights without National Guard. So I was 100% behind Trump calling National Guard. We had officers stuck in the building. They were breaching the federal building. Not only the officers at risk, the aliens they arrested that day were there, they're at risk. So I'm very grateful the president called on National Guard. It was a right call to make.
I had dinner Friday night, the night before the 250th birthday celebration for the U.S. Army, also the night before the No Kings protests. And I was out to dinner in St. Augustine, Florida, not the hotbed of political activity in the United States. And sitting maybe 2 tables away from me were 6 people all dressed in black. And as I overheard their conversation, they were clearly there to protest the following day. None of them were locals. They were staying in a nice hotel. Somebody was paying for a $50 a person meal for dinner. Who's organizing these protests? Who's paying for all this as they send people around the country?
I really can't comment on that. It's under criminal investigation. The FBI is leading that investigation, but we will find out and we'll be held accountable.
Is somebody culpable? I mean, I know you can't, maybe it's not good to speculate, but when we see all the damage, when we see people get hurt, then is someone ultimately responsible for that? Can that reach the level of treason? Can it reach when you're organizing an effort to thwart what the government is doing? What is that?
I'll leave it up to the Department of Justice. They're investigating. They'll be prosecuting. I don't want to weigh in on that, but I can tell you the FBI is investigating. Department of Justice as a whole is investigating. I think we got a strong AG in Pam Bondi who's going to hold them responsible. I think she'll charge for every crime she can think of because what they've done is assaults against ICE agents are up over 400%. Millions of dollars of property have been destroyed. And I'll say this again. I said it when I was in LA and people attacked me for it, but I'll say it again. It's a matter of time before someone loses their life. And that's not what we want. They can protest all they want. I have 1,000 protesters in my house upstate New York. Protest all you want. You got the right. Whether you can't cross that line. You can't get violent. You can't destroy property. What these people done in LA, they destroyed millions of dollars of taxpayer-funded property that they pay for if they're working and they're actually paying taxes. But there's no reason for it, and they need to be held accountable.
Now, is the goal, I saw this the other day, I don't know if it's accurate, is to have 3,000 a day that you are putting into the system to try to deport. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
There was a mayor in New Mexico who, in the last couple of days, was complaining at a city council meeting saying that they, ICE, are violently snatching citizens, U.S. citizens, out of their cars, out of their homes. Are you snatching U.S. citizens?
Show me. Give me an case example. We're not arresting U.S. citizens. We arrest U.S. citizens for impeding. We arrested a few yesterday. But we're not arresting U.S. citizens to deport them. I mean, again, and people say 3,000, man, that's a big number. Well, actually, if you do the math, we'd have to arrest over 7,000 people every day for the next 3.5 years to remove the people that Biden released. That's not even counting the 12, 15 million that are already here. Just to remove those released by Biden, we'd have to arrest over 7,000 every single day for the next 3.5 years.
There was a memo that came out several days ago from Tatum King that said, we don't want to have collateral folks that aren't criminal. As you look at various places. And please don't arrest people involved in restaurants or in agriculture. And that memo has kind of been walked over since. But who is, it raises the fair question. Who's the target here? When you look at who is in the United States illegally, is everyone who's here illegally a target?
President Trump's been clear we're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. However, if you're in the country illegally, it's not okay. You're not off the cable. But it's about prioritization. Who do we go for first? We go after public safety threats first because they're the biggest dangers to this country. So we got to concentrate on them right now.
Do you have to wait until someone who's here illegally has a victim before you will deport them?
No, that's why you see our collateral arrests are up right now, especially in sanctuary cities, because we're all looking for the bad guy. Many times with others, we find others when we're looking for them. If you're in the country illegally and ICE runs across you, you're going to be arrested. We're going to enforce the law.
In the state of Maine, last week, the Democrats passed a bill that would prohibit the law enforcement and jails from cooperatively working with federal immigration officials. Is it constitutional?
Again, I'll leave that up to DOJ. They'll have to litigate that, but I'll say this. I can't believe any elected city councilman, any elected mayor, any elected governor does not want to help ICE remove public safety threats from their communities. They're here illegally. We're concentrating on public safety threats and really bad people. Why would not work with us shoulder to shoulder? The number one responsibility is protection in communities. So it's disheartening. And look, if they don't want to, law enforcement to help us, to get out of the way, because we're coming, we're going to do it, with or without them. And I'll say something else for those who say, well, we're not going to let you use our jails. Fine. We'll arrest your people that you claim are your community, and we'll simply move them out of state, away from their families, away from their attorneys. The option is not, we're not going to arrest them. You're not going to bully us from doing our job. We're going to do it. So you're going to work with us and do it in the most humane way possible, or get out of the way, because we're going to do it.
It's been controversial in the last few days that you have said, we're going to go into each of these sanctuary cities and we'll enforce the law. Describe that and the level of pushback you get from any of those cities.
I don't care about pushback. I'm going to do that regardless. But bottom line is sanctuary cities. Why? Because that's where we know there's a problem. We don't have that problem in Florida, right? Most of the jails in Florida they're working with, they're giving us a bag. We send the detainers, say, when you're done with them, we want them, they give them to us. But like in New York City, we know we're kicked out of Rikers Island. We can't be Rikers Island. We know they release public safety threats every day. We know there's a problem there, and we know they're intentionally releasing public safety threats into the community. So we got to pay attention to that. That's where the problem is. We could take less resources in Florida just because they're working with us. More resources where they're not working with us because, like, again, it takes one officer to arrest one bad guy in jail, but when they release them in the street, it sends a whole team. So they're going to keep releasing hundreds of criminal aliens in the community. We got to send a hell of a lot of teams there. So that's why we're concentrating sanctuary cities, because they are the problem. Prioritize-wise, where are you going to arrest most criminal aliens? In these sanctuary cities, because they feel they're protected. They go to the sanctuary city knowing they're being protected. That's where we need to focus our efforts.
The president is focused in great part right now on what's going on in the Middle East. The supreme leader in Iran has said, we have a big surprise. And it made me think, over the past few years, we have essentially had open borders in the United States. How real is the risk that bad actors, that potential terrorists, came across those borders when we had that open policy?
I believe it's 100%. We got over 2 million known gotaways. People we captured on video, drone traffic, or essential traffic. They crossed the border, weren't apprehended, weren't vetted, weren't fingerprinted. They got away because the border was so overwhelmed with the humanitarian crisis Joe Biden created, right? So I ask myself all the time, why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Why? Because you pay the cartels a lot of money to get away, but you pay them a lesser amount just to get to the border. Their job ends at the border. You see a green uniform, you turn yourself in, you make an asylum claim. Again, you get a free airline ticket, free hotel room, 3 meals a day, free medical care for less money. Why did 2 million people pay more not to get advantage of that giveaway program? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. That just scared the hell out of everybody. Under Joe Biden, arrested over 400 people on terrorist watch list. Trump, 45, 4 years, 14. They arrested 400. If they arrested 14, how many of that 2 million came from a country sponsoring terror?
Right.
If you think it's zero, then you're a moron. So it scares the hell out of me. What's here already and what could happen.
Let's shift gears just for a minute and tell me about the men and women that are working for U.S. Border Patrol?
Finest men and women I ever met in my life. 20,000 men in the Border Patrol, with 20,000 men and women in ICE. I was a Border Patrol agent. I wore the uniform. I know it's like. I was an ICE agent. I was the first ICE director. I actually came up through the ranks. So when I was a director, I didn't ask them to do anything. I didn't do myself because I was one of them. I came up through the ranks. So these are what I want people to know, because there's a lot of tax on them right now. Again, assault against ICE officers up 400%. These are human beings. These are mothers and fathers too. They have children. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day they go to work. They see some terrible things every day. They deal with terrible things, and they take that home to their families every day. They've taken sicknesses home to their families, whether it's TB or other things they encounter in forced immigration law. These men and women have seen tragedy every day out there. They have Border Patrol agents, they have babies drowning in the river, giving CPR to a baby, talking to little girls who got raped by the cartels, talking to women and children that were sexually assaulted by the cartels. ICE, they rescue victims of sex trafficking who were forced into sex slavery. These men and women have seen some terrible things. They're out there enforcing laws enacted by Congress. They're not making this up. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress. They're appropriated funding to enforce those laws. They're executing orders from a judge who gave people due process and ordered them removed. They're not making up. They're doing their job. They're executing orders for a federal judge. They're enforcing laws passed by Congress. If you don't like it, then go raise hell at Congress. But don't attack the men and women of ICE. Your job's already dangerous enough.
We started out by talking about some statistics and what an amazing difference it's been from even a year ago till now. What are the long-term goals? Where do you want to be a year from now? Where do you want to be 3 years from now?
My biggest goal right now is that every illegal alien, public safety threat, and national security threat is eradicated from this nation. I'd be happy.
Fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.